Hello, this is Roland. I want to continue with my discussion about health, the spiritual side of health, and I want to continue reading from my book, Helping and Healing the Inner You. Let's begin where we left off last time. Um, Last time we left off where I said that we give up energy to that which intimidates us, that which has overcome us. And then I said that uh, the Bible speaks of giving up. See, we're exchanging the spiritual, the sensible, for the sensuous, laying down the earthy life and taking up the spiritual life. See, you laid one down to take up the other. Now, when we're little children, we're first of the earth and later of the spirit. So, as little children, we're little egos, and we first are of the earth. We learn of God's great green earth. We love to discover things, butterflies and rocks and pebbles and crayons, trees and running through the meadow, riding bicycles. That's what childhood is for. But as we get older, as we become adults, and then as we move toward the second half of life, then some of us begin yearning for the spiritual side of life, the spiritual side of life. I had a friend in Redding, California, Jack, a very nice fellow. He'd suffered a lot, been through a lot. And when he was in his 40s, I think, he began to, he called it looking for the spiritual side of life. And I really like that expression. But not all of us do. Some of us, we have a midlife crisis. Some people have a midlife crisis. They go out and get Botox, and or the men get a motorcycle. Maybe they divorce their wife and marry a younger woman. See, um, they try to recapture their youth, but it's what they're doing is going backwards. You see, downward and not upward. Okay, so I said that if we lay down the earthy, sensuous life and take up the spiritual life, then in a sense we're dying to the world. Okay, we're dying to the world, but we're not dying. We're actually living, although it'll feel like dying sometimes to your ego, giving up your indulgences. See, if you stand there and you let pass the temptation to resent someone, or you let pass the temptation to eat the extra chocolate or potato chips, see, or to look at the naughty thing, or to see whatever it might be, or to buy the shoes or the purse or whatever that you really don't need. You see what I mean? When you let that go, then it'll feel like you're giving up life itself. See? But if you can just bear a little bit of pain of just letting it pass, then on the other side of that, see, is freedom. On the other side of that is freedom. There's an interesting verse in Peter where it said, that by which a man or woman is bested or overcome, of that he becomes a slave or she becomes a slave. See? So if you're overcome by your indulgences, whatever they might be, then you become a slave of them. But if you can let them pass, then on the other side is freedom. Okay? Freedom. So we lay down the earthly life, take up the spiritual life. Okay? And part of that is giving up willfulness. Most of us are, a lot of people are very willful. They have and a lot of women have a problem with willfulness. Okay? We all do. We all have egos. We think we can make things happen. We're very willful. But you have to give up your willfulness in exchange for a willingness to let go and let God. Okay? It's called living by faith. It's another way of saying living by faith. Let go and let God. Okay? Something like que sera, sera, whatever will be, what it will be. It's something like that, kind of a happy-go-lucky. The French call it la belle indifférence, the, the, the beautiful indifference, see? But it's not with cynicism, and it's not with resentment, and it's not resignation. It's with just a light touch, see? And with a hopefulness. See, when it's the real thing, maybe you don't know which way you're going to go, for example. You don't know what you're going to do with your life. You don't know what's going to happen. But it makes it exciting. You say, well, let's see what the day brings. And then tomorrow we'll see what tomorrow brings. Day by day, just as the symphony plays one note at a time, you live one moment at a time. See, one day at a time. 1 second at a time. Was it Goethe who said that, he said, sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a destiny. Okay? Well, one little thing at a time. But it becomes an adventure. And there's a hopefulness. You know something good is going to happen, but you don't know what it is. It's like a Christmas presents. There they are. You know it's going to be something good, but you don't know what it is. See? Well, that's the way life should be. Okay? And that's the way it is in Christ's perfect freedom. Okay? So to the extent that you can give up your indulgences, you become free. Free to discover new things to do. New challenges. See, new projects. New things to move toward. See how beautiful it is? Not dragged down by the past. See? All right. Well, so you got the idea? Okay. All right. So, let's continue reading now. I'll keep reading from my book. I'm talking about the person who is now on the path of letting go of the earthly life and picking up the spiritual life. There's a lot to be seen and undone. A lot of corruption has entered. And it must be dealt with by the light. You know that passage Peter that I talked about, that which by which a man has been bested, of that he becomes a slave. Okay, you could also say that by which a person has been corrupted, that by which a person has been overcome, that by which a person has been defeated. See, some of the translations use the word corruption. A lot of corruption has entered, and it must be dealt with by the light. See, that's why I recommend so much our meditation. Not any meditation. Most meditations are more escape into thinking, into fantasy, into chanting and humming and that kind of stuff. It's more hypnosis, more enslavement. See, but the proper meditation is where you stand back instead of being involved in it, pulled into it, defeated and ultimately defeated by it and corrupted by it. Instead, you stand back and observe it. Okay, the meditation helps you to do that, and it helps you to find the inner light. See, so that when you now go out into the world, you have the inner light. You see things with the near to the inner light, so you see things in the light. So now you have realizations, discoveries, understandings, aha moments, eureka moments, more and more and more, because of the light which is enlightening you. Okay? It must be dealt with by the light. Health problems may surface to be dealt with by the light. It may appear that the illness is new, but it is on the assembly line of conditions that have been festering and perhaps have been repressed for years or decades. See, our repressed emotions, our hatreds, our angers. Many things have been suppressed, okay, or transferred. Symptoms have been transferred, repressed. See, and so now, see, the latest things are the first to go. So if right now you all of a sudden now you start to meditate with my meditation, you begin to have aha moments, you begin to see your mistakes and are sorry for some of the things that you've done, your hatreds of people and your betrayals of them and so on. You see them now and you are saddened by what you see. You regret what you see. It's called being repented by the light. Okay? Um, and you begin to see so many of the things in the past where you reacted improperly, where you were resentful and angry and so on. So you see those. You see your part in what went wrong, mainly resentment. You begin to let those things go, and you begin to let go your hatred toward the people whose acts of commission or omission hurt you when you were younger. And so gradually you begin to leave it all behind. Eventually it's like it didn't even happen. Okay? Shakespeare said yesterday is but a dream. Okay? It becomes unimportant. You make it unimportant by your willingness to let go of your resentments, you see. So you see all those things, you let them go. This is also done in the light. See, God's light is the one that's repenting you. God's light is the one that's in a structured sequence, in a proper order, only so much every day. See, with God's wisdom, these things will come to surface for you to see. See your part in what went wrong, how you were resentful, or cowardly, or whatever the case may be. Okay? Maybe you had no part in what went wrong. You were just maybe a little child. But after something was done to you, then you did hate the people. See? You hated them. So you see that, you let go of it. And so now these things become from the past. Okay? Now the latest corruptions, things like alcohol or drugs or marijuana, whatever the latest corruptions that you took, got involved in, trying to push everything under the carpet and kill your conscience, see, and avoid the inner light. Okay, those things will go. Okay, then pretty soon you're left with a blessed present. You go out in the world, happy-go-lucky. Okay, now things will sometimes surface from the past, like illnesses will suddenly appear. They've always been there. They've been repressed. Now they come forth, but now they will be seen in the light. Okay? And they will be dealt with by the light. So if something surfaces, okay, now you have some wisdom, some understanding, some reason, see, insight because of the presence of the light. So now you'll see whether you need to see a doctor or not. And if you do, then you'll also be guided to the right one who can help you. Okay? Some things will surface to be observed in the light, and then they're gone. Okay? So it's a great mystery. There are many things to be seen, and you'll see as you see. Now I'm just talking about it, but you'll see as you progress in your spiritual development. Okay? They must surface and be dealt with by the light. Okay? The other thing that will be given up is the improper energy-draining relationships you have had with others. As previously stated, because we're resentful or because you look to people, substances, or objects for ego value, they have drained you. Remember we said whatever you are overcome by, you become a slave of? So the people who you used, they used you. See, they drained you. The things that you thought would bring you happiness, like how many of you have bought something like a house or a car, and then no sooner have you bought it, then you become a slave of it. You realize you spent too much money for it. You realize it's maybe not as good as the one that you had before. Now you have new repair bills, new things to worry about, increased costs. You become a slave of it. You see how that works? Okay, well, it's the same with people in the past, people that you have used, who you resented. That resentment ended up you're being drained of energy. Okay, so those will be given up. They'll give you up as you change. See, people will note the change in you, and those relationships that are improper will sour. Okay. Um, where you work, if you have a decent job, see, a decent day's pay for a decent day's work, and it's decent work, and maybe you'll stay with it, even though the people are imperfect. Now you can be there and work with the people, and now practice. See, it's good practice to be with them and not resent them. Before you resented them. Okay, so now you don't resent them. So it's good practice. Then at some point you may see that you need that our unhappinesses and our judgments and the abuse that we've done to our body. Another job would be better, or starting your own business. See, as long as you don't do it resentfully, as long as it's done with wisdom, then perhaps that. So I can't say. Maybe where you're at now is where you should stay, and on the other hand, maybe you will find some other work. But those improper relationships, work, substances, improper foods, people, places, see, environments, you'll gradually, with time, find your way out of them, and they'll just kind of give you up. One day you'll find yourself where you're supposed to be with people you're supposed to be with, doing with what you're supposed to be doing. All right, well, we'll stop reading at this point. I'm reading from my book, Helping and Healing the Inner You. And I will continue in our next video. My name is Roland.